dun, 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 dun. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Hey, if you haven't guessed it by now, we're going to talk about the $6 million man and the Bionic Woman as the author of the Bionic Book, The $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman Reconstructed. I was honored and privileged to meet and interview both Lee Majors, the star of The $6 Million Man, and Lindsay Wagner, the star of The Bionic Woman, along with Richard Anderson, who played Oscar Goldman, their boss on both shows, and Harv Bennett, the producer, and Kenneth Johnson, director-producer. Just amazing cast and crew of these particular shows that began as a 90-minute ABC TV movie from 1973 based on the novel Cyborg, which was the original title of the movie, written by Martin Caidin. In the fall of 1973, the series started monthly on ABC on something called the ABC Suspense Movie. Every 3 weeks, they'd show a 90-minute new episode of The $6 Million Man. And in these early episodes, Steve was like more James Bondish. He would dress in what do you call, like tuxedos, and it was okay, but there didn't seem to be much heart and soul. By the way, he becomes bionic because he's a test pilot astronaut, and he gets in this horrific accident, loses an arm, two legs, and an eye, and he's rebuilt into it costs $6 million with cybernetics, half man, half machine. Okay, January 1974 comes along. Harv Bennett is brought in as a producer. Harv would go along years later to save the Star Trek franchise, and in the midst of this 73-74 season on ABC, he saves the $6 Million Man. The show has more heart, and Steve becomes more human, less James Bondish, and people are loving it. So after about a year or so, however, Lee Majors is like, you know what? I think we better, give Steve a girlfriend. It would be nice to have some romance in there. And at that point, they hire the great Lindsay Wagner to play Jamie Summers, who was apparently a former childhood sweetheart of Steve Austin's, and now she's a tennis pro. And they go parachuting. They reconnect and they go parachuting, and her parachute falls, and she gets in a horrific accident and loses an arm, two legs, and this time, as where Steve lost an eye, she loses hearing. So she's rebuilt on demand from Steve, who goes to Oscar, played by Richard Anderson, their boss, and says, look, you got to do this for me. So apparently because her parts were a little smaller, she was only like 500 or 5.5 million. So she's the 5.5 million woman. He's the $6 Million Man. And she's better known as the Bionic Woman. So she's introduced in this 2-part episode called The Bionic Woman. Well, guess what? At the end of that episode, she dies. The fans are outraged. Lindsay Wagner is no longer under contract. The only way to have her come back, Universal has to, get her under contract again. And ABC's like, well, or Universal's like, well, maybe, everybody is discussing, well, maybe we can bring someone else in instead of Lindsay Wagner. How about Farrah Fawcett, who was married to Lee Majors at the time, or Stephanie Powers, who played the girl from Uncle, or even Sally Field, her name was kicked around. And ABC is like, get me Lindsay Wagner. I mean, the fans loved Lindsay, that natural beauty that she brought to the role, her amazing personality. No one was going to settle for anything less than Lindsay Wagner as Jamie Summers. So she dies. Her Jamie Summers dies at the end of that two-parter, but she's brought back to life. This is science fiction by the great Kenneth Johnson, a writer, Kenneth Johnson, for another two-part episode. And she kind of sort of remembers Steve, but she doesn't. The romance is gone. The ratings are high for the second two-parter. She's given a regular series. Amazing. Right at the same time that ABC is also revamping their Wonder Woman franchise. Wonder Woman started out as a 74 TV movie with Kathleen Crosby. It didn't work out. They revamped it and they brought it back to the origin of the comic, and Linda Carter comes along. So now ABC, by the spring of 76, has two super women. They really don't know what's going on here. Wonder Woman's kind of like a periodic special. The Bionic Woman is a weekly series. And now also the Bionic Woman is making guest appearances on the $6 Million Man. $6 Million Man is making guest appearances on the Bionic Woman. You got Bigfoot. All these things are happening. Space Invaders. Blah, 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 blah. It's like a wild time on ABC with all these superheroes. It's just a terrific time, really, in the midst of TV-dom and history-dom. Okay, both shows are finally canceled, along with Wonder Woman, by the way. NBC picks up the Bionic Woman for the final third season. CBS picks up the Wonder Woman series for its final third season. And there's no more superheroes until maybe Incredible Hulk, which is also produced by Kenneth Johnson. Years later, in the 80s, the return of the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman, this time on NBC, is a reunion movie. And then Bionic Showdown with Sandra Bullock, and before she became Sandra Bullock. And then Bionic Ever After, which I had the privilege and honor to be on the set of and meet finally in person Lee Majors and Lindsay Wagner and Richard Anderson. So there you have it, is a quick synopsis of all things Bionic. Apparently, they're doing a new $6 billion man movie. I'll hold my words on that until I see it. And for the moment, in the meantime, however, if you are interested in receiving a copy of the Bionic book, a personally signed copy, you can go to my website, HerbieJPilato.com. But quite frankly, it's a lot cheaper on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. They certainly released the DVD, which in this beautiful $6 Million Man box set that I served as a consultant on, along with many other wonderful Bionic people and Bionic fans out there. And the Bionic Woman 2, of course, is available on DVD. In the meantime, run in slow motion. Use crazy sounds when you peer out the window. And enjoy your life and stay safe and be happy.